Did you know anything about it before you got in the business, or did you kind of learn it and pick it up as you went?
No. So I was in the ag industry since I was 13 years old, and so this was a total different field. I mean, you're dealing with ag and animals. You're dealing with, manure on that side. So that's just a different avenue that way.
So tell me, this is a business that's been around for quite some time. 3 years ago, you decided, all right, I'm taking over. We're going to grow this thing. What was that moment? How did you find this business, and what caused you to be like, all right, I'm starting with what's here, and we're going to build on there.
A fellow reached out to me who owned this business prior and was going to be moving to Montana, and someone had put him in touch with me about buying the business. I sat down, looked at the numbers, wanted to be home more because my previous job kept me on the road Monday to Friday, away from home, I should say. And so we sat down, looked at the numbers, liked what I saw, wanted to be home. I said, let's roll, let's run with it.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Superpro Podcast. I'm super excited because we shine spotlights on all the top pros in the home service industries. We share their journeys, their challenges, their success stories. We get a lot of golden nuggets. I'm your host, Roland Ligtenberg. I'm the co-founder of Housecall Pro, and I'm your host today. Today, we are super excited to welcome Harold Case, the owner and president of Sunlight Services, LLC. They're serving multiple counties in Pennsylvania. They got 9 employees out there with multiple trucks. We've got pump trucks. We've got porta potty trucks. We've got service trucks. Their goal is to hit $1.7 million of revenue this year. And this is just 3 years after taking over the business. So Harold's built a remarkable business. He's significantly expanded the operations, grown the team. Join us today as we explore his path, his success. He's got lots of fun insight for us, some things that you might not expect, and how Housecall Pro played a crucial role in his growth. Welcome to the show, Harold.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. So tell me, this is a business that's been around for quite some time. 3 years ago, you decided, all right, I'm taking over. We're going to grow this thing. What was that moment? How did you find this business, and what caused you to be like, all right, I'm starting with what's here, and we're going to build on there?
So I was in the sales business for 9 years in the dairy farm industry, growing territories from Ohio, New York, Vermont, Connecticut. A fellow reached out to me who owned this business prior and was going to be moving to Montana, and someone had put him in touch with me about buying the business. I sat down, looked at the numbers, wanted to be home more because my previous job kept me on the road Monday to Friday, away from home, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sat down, looked at the numbers, liked what I saw, wanted to be home. I said, let's roll, let's run with it.
Wow.
Now I did, just to be fair there, I have a group of advisors, about 3 or 4 different people that I run all of that stuff by. And so I did run the numbers and the business model by them before we decided to do it.
How do you, so when someone says, I've got advisors, I've got mentors, like, what does that mean? How do you find these people that you can run stuff by? Are these just really smart friends of yours? Is this like a formal group of people? Tell me when you say that, what does that mean?
So it isn't a formal group of people at all, really. One of them is my State Farm agent, my insurance agent, who loves to run numbers. Big Dave Ramsey fan. I run things by him. We also are friends. Another one is an investor who has invested private money in me. So he has something to lose. So I run it by him.
Yep.
And then of course, we have a couple of other friends, very close friends that I run things by. So it's a matter of just being able to pick them out. Not always somebody that's always going to give you yes like you want, but someone's going to give you some pushback and some reality checks.
Yeah, I think it's always important to have those types of people in your circle, because it's easy for everyone just to be a fan, but sometimes you need that hey, Harold, do you know anything about septic tank cleaning and, doing
Absolutely.
commercial waste removal? Are you sure you want to get in this business? Did you know
Very
anything
true.
about it before you got in the business, or did you kind of learn it and pick it up as you went?
No. So I was in the ag industry since I was 13
Yeah.
years old. And so this was a total different field. I mean, you're dealing with ag and animals, you're dealing with, manure on that side. So that's just a different
A human version,
avenue
yeah.
that way. Yeah, but no, I did not have any understanding of it at all.
Did that cause you like pause when you're evaluating the business, or you're like, no problem, I can figure this out. This seems fairly straightforward.
So I always have a little bit of trepidation when I do something, but I would tend to be on the probably the aggressive side. So I looked at it as a challenge, and yeah, I like a challenge. So I wouldn't say a lot of fear in grabbing hold of it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great golden nugget too for anyone else that's looking to get into home services or is like, oh, you know what, maybe I want to add a septic division or, like you don't necessarily have to grow up in that trade to jump into that trade. And I feel like sometimes, people don't understand that growth happens through uncomfortable situations or putting yourself through something that isn't comfortable, right? And that sounds like that's exactly what you did when you're like, oh, the numbers make sense. Let's go do this thing.
Absolutely.
So you built a super team. What do you mean by a super team? How do you build a super team?
So I have been blessed. Number one, I give a lot of credit to the Lord, my Savior, for just blessing me with a good business, but also just a good team, people that want to work for us, that like what we're doing. Because septic, you got to like that. I mean, that's a unique beast of its own. But
Yeah,
you just look for that person that fits your model. Drivers that are not afraid to get it done. Um, got a tremendous office staff. I don't have a real good answer on what to look for. I mean, you kind of just look and you gauge personalities,
sure.
work, the drive to get out there and get it done, the not being afraid to get out there and get it done. So you just, I don't know, it's kind of in me to just look for those folks and be able to decipher. And we've gone through some staff that just did not work out, but it it makes a huge difference because I can't do this on my own. It's the team, and you've got to present that to your team that hey, it's you guys that make this what it is. And so
Mm-hmm. If you had to pick, would you pick someone that has either some sort of background in septic, or would you rather start with a blank slate but has the right attitude and you train them up? Which one would you pick and why?
so I kind of like a blank slate. So maybe
Mm,
they come to me and they have some trucking experience, or maybe they have some plumbing experience. Um, I find it a little bit easier to go that route and train them versus bringing in somebody that's got all the answers.
mm,
They're a little bit harder to, I think they're a little bit harder to work with because they're coming in with, I deserve this much money. I have all this experience. Where you bring someone in, it's a little bit more of a humble approach that, they're being trained um, kind of the way Sunlight wants to operate instead of what they've kind of built on their own with other companies or bad habits, so to speak.
yep.
Here we can kind of, this is how we want the team to operate. Here's our goals. Here's our model, our way of life, and what we want the customers to see from us. So yeah, I find it easier to find someone that does not have any background specifically in what we do.
That makes sense. And tell me a little bit about how like you're big in kind of like rewarding the team. Like how do you do that? How do you pull that into this super team kind of ethos?
So we're experimenting with bonus up right now. I kind of like it. I have mixed reviews of it.
Hmm.
It can it can have a positive connotation to it. It also can have a negative connotation to it. But what I find is that just little things, if you set a bonus program that everyone gets to come to expect, I should say, um, that's different than for us. What we do is the driver might go to his car randomly and see $100 bill laying in a seat when he comes home and takes his car home. Or one of the other things we do is not so long ago, we I ordered pizza to every one of our employees' homes. I've asked them, what kind of pizza you guys like? Tell your wife that there's pizza for supper tonight. She don't have to cook. Just little things like that to show them that, wow, somebody cares about what we're doing here.
Yeah, I love that you're going the extra mile for your employees, and I know that that in turn means they'll go the extra mile for your customers,
Mm.
and kind of showing that piece shows them kind of the example and the behavior and the things that your company represents. And likewise, they'll then do that for your end homeowners, for your customers
That's right.
too. Yeah. Yeah. I think also when it comes to, what's expected and what's not, I think unexpected bonuses sometimes even go an extra mile because it literally is like, oh, you just did a good job and attaboy. And here's, like you said, you dropped $100 bill, on their seat, on their truck. And it's just, it's something that shows the gratefulness, that you have versus like, oh, I did X, I get Y. That's similar
Mhm.
to another form of compensation, which is like I put in time, I get Y, which is their normal salary. What about, when it comes to like being more than the competition? I feel like, differentiation when it comes to pumping my septic, like how do you differentiate? Like why do people pick Sunlight, and then how do you like build that into your day-to-day operations?
The way Sunlight would have started was built on, um, I think, work ethic, number one, but also the previous owner did look at, hey, I'm the cheapest. He liked, and one of the things that I wanted to get away from is I did not want to be known for the cheapest.
Hmm.
I do want to be known for being competitive, but I find that you can charge a good price that is makes you as the owner and the company money, I should say the company money,
Hmm.
but then also the customer feels good about it. But then what I feel sets us apart that we try to utilize here is, when our drivers are out doing a job and they leave an invoice there, write down the notes, see what all you did here, so they know that you inspected the tank, you pumped the tank. Get out the hose from the truck because we have fresh water on our trucks. Spray the tank down. Do those extra things that when we leave, the customer's like, "Wow,
Mm.
I've gotten other people to do that. I've never seen them do that." And or here's the invoice. They did all of that. So letting them know all the stuff you did, other than, oh, here's a bill, I pumped your tank and roll. So I think that makes you sets you apart from the other
Yeah.
competitors.
Definitely. And I think just the perception that the homeowner has throughout the entire customer experience really
Mm.
dictates like what they're willing to spend and if they feel like there's value in the service or not. Obviously, being the cheapest, is one way to roll. You jump in, jump
Yeah.
out, pump, roll out. But, if you're thinking about growing, how do you add more value to what you do? Like show the stuff you did, make it apparent. Like let the homeowner know, all the different small little pieces. That's something that the competition isn't doing. And so that's what sets you apart. I love that. You guys have done so well on just growing your reviews so fast. I mean, you've literally 10x'd it. What is your strategy for doing that, and why are they so important?
I did not. Why are they so important? So I didn't realize how many people shopped or looked at Google reviews. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm blown away at how many folks call in here. Where did you find us? Internet. We Googled you, found it. You popped up. We saw your reviews. We saw what your company stands for, your motto. We you got a lot of good reviews, so we want to go with you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was a mind blowing experience to finally realize how many people shop by that. But what can we attribute the Google reviews to? I'm going to say it. Most of it is Housecall Pro. So we send those automated that marketing, that text messaging.
Hmm.
We have that set up to it's either 2 or 3 times. Yes, you're going to make some people mad. Why do I get all these texts? But it has taken us from that 30 some, 40 some reviews when I bought this business to literally those reviews being just shy of, as of this morning, just shy of 600. And
Wow.
so,
Yeah. That's,
because of that messaging from Housecall Pro, but then also the fine job that the team is doing out there, it has, yeah, almost in 3 years, actually less than 3 years, because we only started sending those review requests out when we went with Housecall Pro. So I'm going to say a year and a half, maybe 2 years max. We went from that
wow.
50 to 600.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I mean, the old tenet is like, you don't get what you don't ask. And so, even if your team is doing a great job, if you're not asking, you're going to get some, sure. And you're going to end up with 30 to 40 over whatever time spent it took to get those, versus you do a great job and you ask. man, you throw those two things together, like you said, that goes really fast. But you have to make sure your team is delivering that 5-star experience.
Absolutely.
What do you think from like a customer experience kind of perspective? When you're sending payment requests, do they like to pay on the spot, like when the guys are out there in the field, with the trucks, or do they pay like afterwards or before? Like, walk me through kind of that process because you could technically operate without seeing any homeowner for a long time, as long as you have access to their location.
So we do send the credit card requests out. So that's a feature within Housecall Pro that we utilize, to send a text message out or an email requesting a credit card to be put on file. That's been a huge game changer for our business. We also carry the card readers on the trucks that a customer can pay with a credit card. I have found since doing that messaging, so when the driver clicks on my way and he's heading to the customer's location, in that text it says we do accept payment at time. We are able to accept payment at time of service via cash, check, or credit card. Some people that makes a little grumpy because, well, I thought I had 15 days. I thought I had 30. Well, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. If they want 15, they want 30, and they're not a new customer and trustworthy, we do that. But one thing that Housecall Pro has done because of the text messages, because of the credit card readers and being able to take those credit card payments, it has helped. I remember when I first bought this, the first year and a half, chasing money was a nightmare. We don't have to chase money like we used to because of those conveniences that we have.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those interactions they add up over time, and that's where business owners sometimes kind of fail to like put two and two together because even if it takes you 5 minutes to hunt down a payment, a phone call to chase that thing, take 5 minutes times however many customers you service in any given month, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's I would spend 6 hours chasing these things down. 6 hours times whatever you're paying, maybe like an office admin, 30-40 bucks an hour. That starts to really rack up time, but it's because it's like death by 1,000 cuts. You don't like feel it on any one particular thing, but then if you kind of zoom out, as an owner and president entrepreneur, you're like, oh wow, okay, that could be simplified.
Huge. Yeah.
What about, as a business, you can grow by, getting more customers, which you guys are doing. You're getting a lot of organic via reviews, via people looking you up, and they're already sold by the time they give you a call. But you're also expanding the different types of services you offer. So you just added, the porta potty division to the company and a service truck. Like, walk me through like the strategy. And for other pros that might be listening that are like, oh, do I add a new service line? Is that hard to do? Or should I not do that? Should I just do more of the same? Or should I start to expand? Like, how did you think about that?
So when we bought Sunlight in June of 21, a neighboring business, a fellow that had been doing it on his own for 17 years, right in my backyard, comes to me and says, hey, I want to sell you my business. And I'm like, Rodney, I just bought I don't know if I can. So he offered a pretty sweet deal, and we bought his business in October of 21, right after June. And his customer base started to ask, hey, do you offer portable restrooms? No. And Harold finds it hard. I find it very hard to say no, probably my biggest weakness. And I'm like, man,
maybe
I
I
had to say
could.
no to that. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe we should think of this. And it started happening more and more with those requests. And so I'm like, you know what? I see an opportunity here, which is how I'm geared. So I bought a trailer load from Satellite Industries, 28 on a truckload, and a truck, and off we ran. And one of the nice things about that was I have another portable restroom guy that we work with about 25 miles from here. He's like, hey, you're not that busy. Would you run some of our routes with your truck and do a day or two, when you're not busy? Oh, absolutely. So now there's an opportunity to get another, hire somebody and keep that truck paying for itself. So it was a win-win on the portable restroom side for sure.
Yeah, I think.
And then
Go ahead.
Well, then people, more and more customers are saying, we want to deal with one place. We don't want to call all these other places. So we used to hand off all of our service jobs. Hey, here's a guy that does it. Here's a guy that does it. Well, now your name's attached to that, and if that guy doesn't do like you would do, or he doesn't call back, he's hard to get a hold of. Now they're calling you, well, you're Sunlight, you're the one that recommended. I'm upset at you. So then I'm like, that's not who we are. So hey, you know what? We're going to add service now, and that has also been a huge plus. So almost a one-stop shop now when it comes to the municipal waste septic porta pot world.
Yeah, and they're so complementary. All of those services
Mhm.
work together. You're gonna have to, pump the porta potties. If you only were to do the porta potties, you have to think about how do you handle that piece. And so they work really well together. And I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to recognize when opportunities make a lot of sense and opportunities that are like, yeah, sure, this problem's everywhere. I think as an entrepreneur, you're like, I could solve that. I could solve that. You got to figure out
Mhm.
like, okay, what am I gonna focus on? But I think you've done a good job recognizing those kind of complementary business opportunities and ultimately listening to that customer. Because if you've got the relationship with that customer, the more things that you can offer them, if I could just call one person, they could do all the things for me, man, that'd save me way more time than like calling 20 different people. In your case, these are three different service lines, three different
Mhm.
folks to do this. And the one that you didn't really touch on too much, but I think is one you can't ignore, which is the reflection of your recommendation directly impacts how they view your business. And so if you go recommend anyone by name, if anything goes wrong, you're going to get the ding. And if you can't control that, you have to be very careful with what you do. So I tell people either make sure you know who you're recommending and be really sure about it, or recommend a handful and say, I don't have a preference. These are some folks that I've heard do good jobs, but you might want to do your own research. So it's like, you go that path, or you do your path, which is like, all right, I'm adding in my own service truck. And then you own the full experience, which is
Mhm.
a really great strategy there. Tell me a little bit about answering your phones. I know you guys added Housecall Pro Assist to be able to answer part time of your phones. Like, what was your kind of process and kind of thinking and getting some more help for that rather than doing it yourself?
So one of the things I tend to do is to do it myself. And after you continue to grow, you can only do so much stuff. So right now we have uh, great office help in here that helps with the answering of the phones now. It'll go to Adrian, or it'll go to myself. And what happened is I was taking all the calls in the evening too. So I
Mm.
started offering and said, yeah, we can come out for emergency calls. Absolutely, emergencies happen. But I was taking all those, and I'm like, I'd like a little family time too. I'd like a little bit of get away from this time and just shut down and rejuvenate. And I'm like, House Call Pro Assist. And I was able to work with them and say, from 5 o'clock in the evening till 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, they can take care of it. And those text messages go to all of our crew, and those whoever's on call gets those messages and can run with it and take it from there. Before I was taking the calls, seeing who was on call, getting that guy scheduled. I'm not doing any of that anymore. So it has been a huge time saver and stress, a biggest stress reliever to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, you even buying this business is predicated on the fact that you wanted more family time. And so sometimes when
Yeah.
you get into like building a business, that entrepreneur becomes all consuming and finding ways to carve that time back out
Hmm.
is definitely super, super important there. For people that are listening that are using House Call Pro, what do you think is an underrated feature? Maybe you've talked about it so far, maybe you haven't, but what do you think is underrated that doesn't get really talked about, or maybe isn't even really a feature, but it's like a thing that the software does that you think more people should know about?
So we live in a world with messaging and emailing and more of that than phone calls, person to person. Right, wrong, and different. That is what we work with. That is the generation that we're working with, and so messaging, text messaging, emailing, online, being able to go online and book online with
Yep.
those open windows that you give, that has been huge for us. I love it. I mean that I think is maybe not talked about enough. I just love the messaging aspect. Um, and the younger generation that we're working with, they love that. They'd rather message you
Yeah.
than talk to you. And so if you can meet them where they're at, because that's who you're working with, that's the people buying homes and taking over homes and businesses. It's just phenomenal. So that's been huge for me. Just and I don't know if there's one thing that I would point out. I mean, there's so many aspects of Housecall Pro that we're using, and I know there's probably some that we're not using and underutilizing, but it's just been great.
Yeah, and you guys just started dabbling in the marketing campaigns. This is one of the new features that we released. Maybe what's like an example that you use it so far? Well, what have you been testing?
So most of our business is repeat customers because because of DEP and the townships, it's mandated to do septic pumping. So some of them are 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And so what we use is that automatic reminder. Hey, homeowner, it's been 3 years since we've been there to pump. Have you thought about XYZ? That's been
Mm.
huge. Or a text. They get a text saying that. And they either respond text or call in and say, yeah, hey, I'm glad you remembered that. Get us on your schedule. We weren't thinking of that. That's been huge. Blogs. We use our email. We're starting to dabble in that a little bit. Um, so, yeah, it's definitely the marketing aspect. Again, that's we're underutilizing it. I know it. That's some just because I don't understand it fully yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going to be huge for us as well.
Yeah, anytime you can programmatically remind your customers it's been a little while, you should think about booking us again, especially for services that are recurring. Obviously, septic's not the only recurring home service business out there. So this is a
Right.
super great golden nugget for anyone that's got a business where they expect, and even if it's not a recurring business, maybe if yours is a plumber, you installed something else, feel free to reach out to those customers, especially if it's been a year or whatnot. The value of your
Mm-hmm.
business is the value of your database. So make sure you continue to nurture that thing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone well past the 20-minute mark. What's something you would tell younger Harold, like younger Harold, either pre your business or in the beginning stages of your business? What should young Harold do?
Number one, don't be afraid to ask folks, and especially successful folks, that have probably made wrong choices, probably made good choices, definitely made good choices. They wouldn't be where they are. But um, you know, being a lone wolf, yeah, I try, that's who I was in my younger. Nobody told me anything. I'm going to do my own thing. Um, but bouncing things off, ask questions, ask lots of questions, and then the next hardest thing would be to sit down then and piece all of that together because you're gonna get a lot of varying answers. But ask a lot of questions, and you're gonna have to take risks. It's not for the faint of heart or anything like that. There's going to be risks associated with it, but to help with that risk factor, ask a lot of questions so you're well educated before going into it, making calculated moves as you go into it.
Yeah, that's a great kind of parting words of wisdom. With Housecall Pro, we have our community of pros, our Facebook group. And, if you're out there, you feel kind of lonely, maybe you're new to the trade, maybe you decided to buy a septic business yourself and didn't know anything about septic. There's other folks that have done it. There are other folks that are in it. And learn from them because I think what you'll find is most people are happy to help, happy to answer questions, and take some time to do that. I feel like rather than having to learn everything the hard way, there's some things you will. But if there's someone else that has that experience, they've made those good and wrong decisions before, reach out to them. Do that. I love that piece of wisdom. That's what makes me excited about the Housecall Pro community in our Facebook groups. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know, if you're looking to get a septic, call Harold up. Go find him. He's easy to find. Maybe he'll give you some of his own words of wisdom, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I
Well,
would say Conquer Coach,
oh, okay, yeah.
um,
Hmm.
the coaching program. That's been huge. I was like, I quit it, and then I come back to it. So I'm like, you know what? It's therapy to be able to bounce
Hmm.
your ideas by five other pros. Uh, that, you can't put a price tag on that. It's
Yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah,
So
and the accountability too that it provides.
yeah,
It's just like, when you're a lone wolf or you're by yourself or you're the owner of your own business, talking to other owners, holding each other
hmm
accountable and doing what you say you're going to do. That's a big part of business, and sometimes it's hard when you're by yourself, for sure.
yeah.
Well, Harold, thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending some time with us here on the Superpro podcast. Everyone else that's listening, we've got more guests lined up for more weeks, just like Harold. Tune in again. I appreciate your time as always, and we'll see you all next week.
The Superpro Podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.